We really create our life experience. And so your ability to create your life and owning that fiercely, not abdicating, not giving it to the weather, the economy, God, the government, somebody else to control your life. That's fierce life ownership. If you do it from a place of self-doubt and negative thinking, it won't work or it'll be half-assed. If you do it from a place of truly treasuring the divine diamond that you are, whatever it is will work twice as good. Gratitude has a neurochemical response. So if you want to have the benefit of gratitude, then think about something that you're really grateful for.
What one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
The foundation is loving yourself.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show. I'm your host, Ethan Cassiotis. And today I have an awesome guest. His name is Kellan Fluckiger. He is a high-performance coach specializing in empowering entrepreneurs to effortlessly sign clients, achieving business success through transformative mindset shifts. And coming through decades of depression, addictions, and life-threatening illness and a near-death experience, Kellen has become the ultimate catalyst to help motivated people melt barriers, move mountains, and mobilize superpowers to achieve their true desires. And as a coach and keynote speaker, Kellen's masterful approach helps people get past old stories, change beliefs, and create a life context to reach even goals that seem impossible. And Kellen is dedicated to helping others tap into their gifts and talents to allow them to effectively serve and grow in their own lives. And his coaching is renowned for its powerful results and growth. And he continues to speak, write, and perform regularly. And has written 21 books, many #1 international bestsellers, with more to come. And Kellen also launched a popular YouTube and podcast channel, Your Ultimate Life, which produced nearly 1,000 episodes. Welcome, Kellen, and thank you for being on the Business Growth Show.
You are welcome. And the first thing I want to do is in front of your audience to honor you because the work it takes to do this kind of stuff. And so your heroic heart is a glowing candle for me, and I love you. And thank you for letting me be here with you.
Thank you so much, Kellen. Love you too, mate. There's always plenty of love to go around, and same to you. You know, you've done almost 1,000 episodes. You're a veteran in this space, and I know we talked about me being on your podcast, in which I enjoy as well. But today, it's all about you, right? About what you're going to bring, and I'm sure there's going to be so much amazing things that you're going to be sharing with us today. And you are a successful entrepreneur. So, firstly, for those people who don't know who you are, just maybe introduce yourself by telling us a little bit more about you and your journey.
So when I was growing up, I was sort of like the regular thing. You're supposed to grow up, get an education, get a job, chase the thing, right? That's all that there was. And so I did that. And I denied all my own talents and what I wanted to do, following the thing you're supposed to do. And, we all did that, especially back in the time when I was growing up. And not surprisingly, combined with my upbringing, which was very strict, with discipline that today would be felony child abuse, like that strict, I ended up succeeding in the corporate universe and hating my life and myself. And so I lived this sort of roller coaster of creating big success, believing I didn't deserve it, and then I would burn it down. And then I would do that over and over again. And I know it sounds crazy, but I did. And I did that for 35 years. I left home at 17. And the last time I had a divine intervention, literally when I was 52, which was in 2007, that woke me up to the possibility that I could do something else. And so that was a choice I made then. And I literally sort of jumped off the cliff and built my parachute on the way down kind of thing, because at that time I was back on top and I was making enough money that my $3,000 a week cocaine habit didn't matter. And I had attempted suicide for the second time 2 weeks before. So that was the disaster I was living. And then in August of 2007, an amazing experience woke me up. And since then, I've walked a new path to create real value instead of just stuff in the world, and that's what I'm committed to doing. So that's about as short as I can do from the beginning. And since 2007, like you said, I've written a lot of books and created a sort of an ecosystem and a truth that teaches that each of you listening, you're a capable being, you're a divine being, whatever you conceive that to be. And that means you have the possibility to do anything you want. And most of us, we live addicted to mediocrity in this world of learned helplessness. And we don't have to. And making a choice to do something about that, even a little at a time, is so powerful and possible. And so I named my show Your Ultimate Life because I define that as a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. And it's the life I live every day now after the years of work getting there. So that's the short story.
Yeah, amazing, Kellen. Thank you for sharing. What an amazing journey. And I'm looking forward to tapping into this. I think one thing you said there was really profound, right? Is that people can easily have a life of mediocrity, right? Which is, not our purpose. We are, abundant, right? As beings, that we can do anything that we want to do. And I think from my perspective, I'd love to know from your, I think our environment plays a big part on that, right? Of the journey that we go down, who we're around, if that makes sense, right?
100%. So I had a publicist getting me on some top 50 radio stations in the U.S., and it was funny. The thing that attracted them most was the pitch she gave them was how addiction to mediocrity is ruining your life. And so I've just, in the last 2 weeks, done several big radio shows about that. And the host is always like, well, tell me what that means. What is this addiction to mediocrity? And the truth is we're not born that way. Every infant is curious and open. But right from the get-go, almost from the cradle, we're told that we're not enough. We're judged, whether it's grades or friends or trauma or betrayal or the whole gamut of things. And we learn that this is all we get. And we internalize that story. And sadly, many people live that way their whole lives until either something happens and they make a choice. We see something different, or we're around something different, or we read something and it lands us in a way that says, I'm going to do that. Because short of that, we stay doing what we've always done. And that, work for the weekend, do that, that whole drama is a story that's far beneath your personal capability. And it's just what we've learned to do. And that's why my work, along with Ethan, is to allow you to at least see that possibility and make an intelligent choice to do something, and then to provide tools and methods to act on that yearning that we all feel to do more, to be more, to matter, to lift, to bless, to serve. I mean, we're built to love and serve each other. And we're socialized to be greedy and look out for me and everything else. And that's not the truth of our being. So addiction to mediocrity is a learned behavior, and it's a deadly poison.
Yeah, love that, mate. So powerful, and hope that everyone, has hit to the chord, right? That you can really create with the intention of what you want. And I know you have a very big mission as well with what you're doing. You want to reach 300 million people, right? Why that number? Where did this come from? And, tell us more about this.
Well, so a few years ago, about 4 years ago, I think it was the first year, maybe, or first year of COVID, I think. My year starts October 14th. And the reason it does has to do with what happened in 2007. And that's a story maybe we'll get to and maybe we won't. But I picked one year, I said, I need to have a goal about how many people I'm reaching. So I decided I was going to reach 10 million people. And to that end, I already had the podcast going, and I hired somebody to get me on a bunch of shows, and I was on a couple hundred that year, and just all kinds of places to reach them. And reach them means with the message, this message that these things are possible, and with the method to get busy doing it. And near the end of that year, so like in September, coming up to October, which is my year end, I was on somebody's show with two guys, and they were interviewing me about something. They knew about the 10 million. And by the end of the hour, they were both like emotional. And one of them said, "You need a bigger number." And I said, "Okay." And he said, I've been with you for 1 hour and you've changed my life. You need a big, and I'm going to talk to 1,000 people this week. You need a bigger number. So that, got me stoked, and the year came and stopped. And so the next year I declared a goal of 50 million. And we tracked it the best we could by audience sizes of things that we were on. And, just like I never expected to get 50 million emails that said, you helped me. I didn't expect that, but whatever. And that year we ended up reaching about 75. And so then the following year I set it at 250, which was last year. And we didn't reach that. I think we got to about 125. So this year I didn't want to push it way up. So we said 300. And based on everything that we are measuring by October 14th, which is just about 4 months from now, I think we'll reach that number. And I hope, and that's by doing everything that we're doing and more. So it came sort of as a download, an inspiration, a commitment, like my business plan. And this is probably not a good thing to say on the Business Growth Podcast, but my business plan is I never look for clients. I look for people to love, opportunities to serve, and problems to solve, and clients come in abundance. And so that is the way I conduct every single moment of my business, is with this message and with the truth of each one of you listening, your own capability. And whether you've been exercising it or not, that's a different issue. But that's a choice, and it's under your control. So that's how 300 happened. And we'll see. Here we go. We've got 3.5 months left.
Yeah, amazing. Love it. All the best with hitting that goal. And yeah, I love the reframe there about how you're seeing things, right? Because I think, even from a sales perspective, a lot of people have these, sometimes bad connotations about it, but it's really about serving, right? Exactly what you said there. You're there to serve other people, to solve problems. That's what business is all about. And then, from a quantum physics perspective, right, you attract the intention, right, that you put out and everything there as well.
You do. And the interesting thing about that is I'd been a big shot executive for all those years. Yeah. And a disaster behind the scenes. When I left all that and decided, what the heck am I going to do? And I started trying to fix myself and, counselors and shrinks and all this kind of thing. What the heck's wrong with me? And did that for 2 or 3 years. What I noticed is in me, and what I noticed in everybody else, is anyone that has gone to do the work, to grow themselves, to improve, to overcome some challenge or pile of challenges, as they're doing that, there seems to arise within us a yearning to serve. It sort of rises at the same time. And I noticed that too. And I thought, I don't know how to do that. And I thought about it for a while, and I thought, that must be coaching or something. So I decided to do it. And here's what I noticed. I sucked at enrolling clients because I'd never done anything. All my executive crap, I didn't have anything to do with sales or whatever. And coming out of decades of depression, I had the story of not enough and imposter and all that stuff that coaches and other people that do sales have in spades. And so I ruined so many potential sales conversations. Guess what? With my poison energy, by being needy. I need a client, and thinking about me and focusing on me. And the reason I have the business plan that I do is that's all gone. I never think about that. I don't even know enough about you, whoever you are, to know whether or not I can help you or you're interested or, I don't know that. And so my first order of business is, with all the love and intent in my heart, is to learn about you and see if there's some way I can serve you without worrying about clientness. And that shift to where everything I think and do is completely focused on whoever I'm talking to, and period. And if it turns into business, that's an accident. And it's an outgrowth of that function. And it's not like I don't have a business and know all that. I do. But the focus is not that. And when I got that finally and was able to embody that, instead of fussing about it, got easy. It's like it's not even a thing. And so that's why my practice is the way it is. And I came from completely sucking at it and being terrified and ruining I don't know how many sales conversations, to now it's like breathing. So it's interesting because that energetic shift was the key to business growth.
Yeah, definitely. Love that. Completely agree. And I know another thing you talk about there is around fierce life ownership. right? Which is the interesting part here. So tell us more about how do you define this and what does this look like, in our lives?
So I have a picture. I'm writing another book. Gee, surprise, number 21. I'm writing another book right now. One of the pictures in that book is a swamp or quicksand on one side, and there's words under the swamp. And the words under the swamp are addiction to mediocrity, learned helplessness, and victim mindset. And pictures people, sort of reaching up out of that swamp, and they're trying to get to the entry to a path. And the path is like a rainbow, and it leads over to this beautiful field that's like a pot of gold right at the end of the rainbow, but it's beautiful. And the words in the field are fierce life ownership, radical excellence, passion for service. And my work is the 300 million or whatever books I write, everything I do is to help people realize there is a place and then help them get on that path and to walk that journey. So fierce life ownership, one of the three words in like Nirvana over here, the pot of gold, is the recognition that nobody can make you feel anything. Everything happens for you. All those cute woo-woo buzzwords that you hear floating around, they're true. And you can use whatever words you want, but we really create our life experience. Silly example, if it's raining, I can be mad because it screwed up my picnic, or I can love it and go dance in the rain. Same thing, same day, same rain. My choice. And even difficult things can be framed that way if you want to. And so your ability to create your life and owning that fiercely, not abdicating, not giving it to the weather, the economy, God, the government, somebody else to control your life. That's fierce life ownership. This is mine. And I don't mean be selfish, and I don't mean not love or serve. I mean, I get to decide who I'm being in every moment, and that's a treasured possession, and it shapes how I experience every minute of life.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. And it's true, right? We're creating everything that we are around us. So take the ownership for that and understand that we can change it as well. And I think, and that's a key thing, right? Because a lot of us, and this is the power of coaches, right? Like us, that help other people, because it's hard to see it on yourself sometimes, right? You need somebody else to see from an outside perspective, to dig deeper into, what's going on underneath the hood in that unconscious mind or whatever there, right? That's holding you back from a belief perspective or from a habit perspective, things like this that, we're doing that. So what are your thoughts about maybe some of these common things that you're seeing in people from a belief habit perspective that's blocking people, right? And how they can, I guess, start to shift that to start to live, the way they want to.
So what I, like I said earlier, I'm going to reiterate a little that we're born unimprinted, and literally from the cradle, whether it's parents or friends or grades or jobs or trauma or difficult experiences or whatever, we're taught, sometimes accidentally and sometimes on purpose, that we're not enough. You're not okay. You're not good enough. You can't. And we internalize that because we can't do anything else. And so I'm not blaming anybody or mad at anybody. Some people have rough upbringing. I had a lot of physical beatings and crap, and other people have worse stuff. It doesn't matter. The key is to recognize, okay, I had all that, and it shaped me in those particular ways. And those are the lenses that I used to have, but they're lenses, and I can take them off. I don't have to continue to look at life through the unfairness and the garbage that happened. I can choose to look at life any way I want to. And you know what? Fierce life ownership, I'm going to do that. So if you find yourself addicted to mediocrity, settling for the easy and obvious, suffering from imposter syndrome, believing that you're not good enough, that you'll never make it, that you can't do this because, and the list of becauses is long, somebody else, something else, the first thing to do, and it's going to sound weird, you got to learn to love yourself. Because I don't care what else you do. If you do it from a place of self-doubt and negative thinking, it won't work or it'll be half-assed. If you do it from a place of truly treasuring the divine diamond that you are, whatever it is will work twice as good, even if it doesn't get the outcome you want. the outcome you want is actually irrelevant. There's another book that I'm writing, not this year, but it'll be in 27 probably, and it's called Failure: The Art and Science of Challenging Boundaries. And it's about learning to reset our whole construct of failure. It's not an indictment of your personality or worth. It just means whatever you did didn't work, period. And so understanding that and choosing to do that. Now, for me, making the radical life changes I had to get a lot of professional help because I'd struggled with depression and addictions for a long time. And that got me healthy. But what really made me get like in control or accessing the truth of what I could create was getting good coaching. Because you go to a doctor if you have a busted leg, and they fix it and they get it set. But you don't go to a doctor if you want to go to the Olympics. So you go to the doctor and you get tuned up so you're okay. And then you go to an Olympic coach who can see in you the truth of who you are, can inspire you because they can see what you can't see. And that's simply the truth. And every good coach in sports, in music, in whatever, business and otherwise, has to have the ability to see what you can't and to invite you continually into that place, even though you might doubt furiously your ability to do that. It's about learning to set that aside and realizing that possibility. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think that was a great answer. And I think the big thing, I love the love yourself part, definitely big on that. It's very, very important. And I guess the way that I see that more is around the gratitude side, right? As well, for being grateful for things in your life as well.
I couldn't agree more. And I want to say something about gratitude. Some people teach stuff like a rampage of appreciation where you'll list 50 million things you're grateful for. I don't find that very effective. Let me tell you what I think does work. Gratitude, real deep gratitude, causes a visceral response in your body. And feelings are neurochemistry, right? When you're angry with somebody, neurochemistry chokes up your throat and tenses muscles and all that. Gratitude has a neurochemical response. So if you want to have the benefit of gratitude, then think about something that you're really grateful for, a friend, a good opportunity, whatever it is, and think about that and stay with it until you create that response in your body of gratitude. And it changes how everything feels. It gets sparkly, and it is a beautiful feeling. And you can do that just by focusing on something you're truly grateful for. And if you do that with just one or two things every morning and bring into your being the neurochemistry of gratitude, that alone has the power to change how you see, how you produce, how you create, how you relate, and other stuff.
Yeah, love that one. That depth on the gratitude side. Let's talk a little bit more around like daily practices, because I think this is a powerful one here, right? Of what we can do, because, for example, people may need to understand how to emotionally regulate, right? We're talking about gratitude now. There's things like that, or even health things that become part of this, right? For our mind or for our body, to be able to be in a great state, right? In what we want to do in our life and businesses and things. So what do you think are some of these? What do you do, or with your clients? Do you see some daily practices to get that?
I do.
That excellence?
I'm laughing because, I'm smiling because, since I have 20 books, I have a book about that too. And it's called Living with Purpose and Power. And in that book, I have put 18 years worth of experimenting and discovery about how to create yourself every day. Now, I don't know why the divine created us to sleep away a third of our lives. Okay, we die every night and we're created again in the morning. And if you allow yourself to be created by the news or by haphazard circumstance or getting into your phone or remembering an argument from last night, those elements are creating you for the day. So instead, what I do is I have a morning, I call it a DCP, daily creation process, because I hate the word morning ritual because it's so cliche. So the daily creation process is an intentional way that I create me. And it consists of an acronym, SPEM, spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. And and I start with spiritual because that's the spark, the essence of who we are. And I have several practices. They might be sacred literature, it might be a yoga, it might be meditation, but it is something that puts me in connection with my higher self, with the universe, with God, whatever you call that. So I do that first because I want everything else to be from that place. And one of the things that's most powerful is I've created a document called a PTAC, and that stands for Personal Truth and Commitment. And it is a sacred, holy contract between me and the universe. It's who I am, not because anybody agreed, not because anybody told me, but because I said so. And it contains the boldest declarations of who I am. So I review that, and I bring myself into alignment energetically with that. And I don't leave that part until I feel absolutely connected to Source. The physical piece it's whether I'm going to work out later or not, doesn't matter. It's a nod to the body. So I did martial arts a lot of years, and I'm paying for it now. My back's busted, and not busted really, but I use a cane and I have some stuff. But I still do martial arts stretches, and I do what I can to honor the body, to wake it up, to pay attention, to be grateful, like you talked earlier, for this thing. The E is emotional, and that means all my relationships. So what I usually do there is then I pick up my phone, not to look at the news, not to check messages, but to send people love notes. So I will eat sometimes in inspiration in the spiritual part, sometimes just looking at names in WhatsApp or Messenger or whatever. I will be inspired every day. 3, 4, 5 people, just to send them love. Maybe there's something that needs to be repaired. Maybe it's a new thing, whatever, but I will send them. And I always use voice notes because that's way more powerful in general because it engages more of the senses. And for me, that's a blessing because I've been blessed with the voice. And so when people hear it, they say stuff about it, and I know it hits them. So we use our talents, right? So I send love intentionally just to be loving because that's one of the things I declare. And the last one is M, mental, and I have stacks of books, about 30 of them over there, that I'm always in the middle of reading, and I'll pick up and read 2 or 3 chapters about all kinds of stuff. It might be woo-woo stuff like Wallace Wattles, or it might be one of them right over here is the holographic universe, which is another take on quantum physics. There's another one, which is the new edition of Robert Cialdini's Influence, which for many years was the Holy Bible, and this is V2. And I just got that. It's fatter and more expanded. Cool. And so any of those, and I'll do that to keep my mind sharpened. By the time I'm done with that, I'm like all in. I'm here. I'm ready for my life and for what I've decided to be. So that's what I do. And I never, ever skip. I never say, even when I'm traveling and I don't have time, screw all that. Because I don't want to be the guy who's not the guy. I want to be who I've said I am, and the way I know is to do that stuff. So I never skip.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. And how long do you do it for, roughly?
When I teach clients, I teach them to start with 10, 10, 10, 10. So I give them a whole bunch of possible practices. Try this, this, and this, SPEM, 10, 10, 10, 10. And start with that. And then we work with it. Did it work? Did it fire you up? Yes or no? Why not? Which pieces worked? The spiritual, the physical, the emotional, mental. And I'll actually coach them on different approaches until they can say, yeah, I know what that's like. And they create their own process, you know what I mean, that does for them what they want to be done. Now, my truth is 2.5 hours. And when people tell me, yeah, are you kidding? I love you. And it creates time. So I spend 2.5 hours doing that, and it creates 5 for me. Decisions are faster. Everything's better. There's no redos. There's no second guessing. There's clarity beyond anything. And so that's something you'll have to learn into. But I start with 40 minutes. Personally, I take 2.5 hours.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. That's very cool. And I love the the creation of time, because I think it's a very interesting topic, right? And I understand a lot of what you're talking about, because time is not necessarily linear, right? With quantum worlds and like that. So you want to maybe talk a little bit more about that for people so that they're aware.
Yeah, time, I mean, we know from the theory of relativity, when things move faster, time slows down. I mean, that's been measured and proven, period. And that is just one scientifically demonstrated, this, that, and the other. But the truth is, our experience of time changes. Like when you've been in flow and time passes in some weird way, like some big chunk of time will do whatever. Or so our relationship to time is relative. And if you learn, and this is learnable also, to access like flow on demand. Like flow is a neurochemical state in the body, and it's not a mystery. You can read Stephen Kotler's book, The Rise of Superman, and one of the ones over here is that too. His most recent one is The Art of Impossible. And so, like when I say I'm always doing that, what else? Because like, how did I write 21 books? And I'm writing 2 more right now, 21 and 22. So I have 20 published. And I'm running the podcast. And I have a full coaching schedule. And I'm going with my wife to a publishing conference in London next week because she runs a publishing company. And she runs all of our teams to do everything that I do in my coaching business. And people are like, do you ever sleep? And the answer is, yeah, every night. And so it is a learned skill to manage. Like, I can't control how fast the seconds tick, but my relationship with that commodity is way different than most people's relationship. And that is a learned skill. I'm not magic, and it didn't come in an Amazon box.
Yeah, I love that. Really, really powerful, mate. Love this time stuff. And like what Kellen's saying here, right? It's like you can mold that, right, to what you want to do in this life. So be intentional with it there. And I'd love to quickly know your point on partnerships here, right? Because I think this is a big thing for me that I focus on in business. And, you can do more with others, right? In some way or another, they're being part of the same mission, vision, and things like that, right? In various capacities. How do you look at this for people? Because, obviously you've got your wife, your partner. I've got, my wife does some things with me, but other people out there, if you're really wanting to connect and go, hey, is this the right person? Can we create something together that's maybe going to make more of an impact? Just like to know your thoughts around, that as well, with connecting with others to see if there's something there.
The first thing I do is talk weird stuff with them. And if we can't get together on what we're doing to the world and our purpose to add good to the world, I'm really not interested in the number of zeros. Because if our purpose isn't aligned, and they may use different language and different approaches and methods, I don't care. But when you do the kinds of things that we're talking about, you can tell in 5 minutes if someone is okay with you energetically. And then we start talking about what the partnership is. Like, I'm really good and insistent on setting agreements versus expectations. So if you go into a partnership with everybody expecting, well, I thought you were going to do this and that. So get really clear on agreements. Are we agreed? And my questions are really simple. Do what by when? So we're going to have what done by when, and who's going to do exactly what, and who's the engine, meaning who's driving the bus. Who's responsible to see the deadlines? Is that me? Is that you? Is it my team? Is it your team? And so the energetic alignment is key. Integrity is key. All of that's first. And when that is aligned, then let's see what your product is, what your audience is, my product, my audience. Is there a JV opportunity? Is there a thing where we can share? Maybe there is. Okay, cool. Maybe there's a joint possibility of creating something. Okay, I'd like to create a product. Fine. What would it look like? Is it a do-it-yourself product? Is it a webinar? Is it something for sale? Do you want to create a new business? The same questions. I mean, in my executive career, I had projects that I managed worth about $200 billion. And so, projects and figuring out who's in charge and what the deadlines are, all that stuff. One of the books I wrote is called The Results Equation, which draws from that history of experience. So I love possibilities, and I'm willing to pursue them what I honestly find is when you get down into the details of do what by when and who's going to be the engine, when you try to get clarity on that, most people, when they start talking about partnerships, are not ready. But when people are really ready and they're ready to talk about that, then I love the opportunity. And I am all in helping people create stuff or having them help me create stuff. Let's get it done. Who are we aiming at? I mean, all the regular questions that you would know. Who's your market? What's the message? What's the product? How do they need it? Why do they need it? But the real question, if the partnership's going to work, is to figure out who's going to do what by when and get all that stuff clear so that, everyone's in integrity. If deadlines are approaching, like there's full and open communication, nobody's fussed about and asking or any of that kind of stuff. So I love it. And if anyone thinks about going in business with me, we're going to have lots of conversation about all that stuff so that everybody's clear and relaxed. And nobody's going to be surprised about who's supposed to do what and what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, I love that. So powerful on how to look at that energy first, the relationship first, the being first, right? And then everything, the purpose first, everything flows on from there. And you shared so much gold with us here today, Kellen. And as we're starting to wrap up, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
Being an entrepreneur is hard. When you start, you're everything, you wear all the hats. Unless you started with a partner, in which case you wear half the hats. But it's still really busy and difficult. So agreements are important. The foundation is loving yourself. Like what I teach clients, and I have people that come with businesses and all kinds of stuff, we go to work on the self-creation first. Because inevitably, if they're coming with either sales problems or marketing problems or staffing problems or whatever it is, the key is always in who they're choosing to be. I had a client not this summer, but last summer, who had a painting business, and his first lieutenant had been with him 12 years and suddenly decided to try to do a hostile takeover. He took all the databases home and started calling clients and was literally trying to take over the business, sort of hostile takeover. And this guy had coached with me before, and he called me up in a breathless panic. What am I going to do, right? How can I manage this? Set up a conversation, 2 days. He happened to be local, so I went to his office, got his whole executive team in there, drew a timeline on the board of actions, taking this one now, this week, that week, about lawyers and business and clients and everything else. I said, that's all well and good, so that's all clear. And I drew another little timeline, a representative timeline that was above it and shorter. And I said, now, the most important thing we're going to do today isn't this timeline for the next 90 days about saving your business. The most important thing we're going to do is this up here. Who are you going to be as you take all these actions? Are you going to be the bitter, defensive asswipe that's pissed off at his rotten partner who's betraying him? Or are you going to be the forward-thinking person who's creating their own life, who doesn't blame, who's focused, who shows up for the company that's still running? Like, who are you going to be? And you have to make that decision every single morning. And you have to look at this line and you got to declare out loud who you're going to be. Then go to work on this other crap. And so, that was the speech, and it was hardcore, and it was longer than that, the whole meeting. But at the end of the 90 days, it made all the difference. He got rid of the guy, got rid of the problem, saved all the clients, saved the company, the whole thing. And he said, that was all fine. That was the key.
Yeah, love that. So powerful, everyone. The being, right, of what Kellen's showing us here today, it all comes from there. And then, everything that you create stems from that. So, mate, we connected through our networks, learned about your awesome journey, to become a high performance coach, and really, so many books, the amount of knowledge and wisdom that you're sharing with everybody here on and how we're being and create the success and moving towards that purpose and fulfillment, right? That we're wanting to do in our lives. You're an awesome guy. So knowledgeable, and amazing energy as well, and understand that real depth about people, which has been really powerful. That I'm very grateful that we connected, and I'm sure you're going to continue to help others with their gifts and talents to allow them to serve right in their own lives as well. So Kellen, yeah, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
One of the fun things about having a weird name like Kellan Fluckiger is you can't hide. So if you spell my name right, I'm easy to find. There's lots of hits from the old days, my executive days, tons of stuff. I'm on social media. That little URL that's on the screen right here, kellanfluckigermedia.com. That's the easiest one. Go there. Shows everything I'm up to, the podcast, the books I've written, different programs. There's a contact form if you want to chat. So the easiest way to do that is kellanfluckigermedia.com. And I'm easy to find on, LinkedIn, Facebook, and some other ones, bunches. YouTube, I've got 1,000 videos on YouTube and all the rest. And of course, Amazon, all the books are on that too. So I can't hide.
I love it. Yeah, definitely check out Kellen there on the website, on the socials, on the YouTube, on the Amazon. So much out there. Reach out, obviously, if you wanted to take the next step and have a chat with him and his team. So, mate, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, and thanks for being on the Business Growth Show.
Athen or Athen?
Athen, all good.
Athen, thank you from the bottom of my heart for who you're being, the beautiful picture of the Sydney Opera House behind you, and your enormous heart. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Ethan Cassiotis, or visit my website, ethancassiotis.com. And if you want to grow and scale your business, you'd reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. So until next time, remember that our business grows where we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So let's create wealth and freedom together.